The Butcher of Hanover. Fritz Haarmann lived in plain sight. He was known to police, familiar in the streets, and tolerated by authorities. In post-war Germany, chaos made familiarity feel like safety, and Haarmann benefited from that confusion. A city in disorder, Hanover, after World War I was unstable. Poverty, homelessness, and displacement were everywhere. Young people drifted through train stations and streets with little protection. In this environment, disappearances were common and rarely investigated deeply. A man close to authority, Haarmann maintained a strange relationship with police. He acted as an informant, offering tips and assistance. This association gave him credibility and protection. Suspicion faded when authority vouched for him. Access through trust. Haarmann did not need to hunt in secret. He approached openly, presenting himself as helpful or authoritative. Young people trusted him because the system appeared to trust him. The role of appearance. Haarmann did not look exceptional. He appeared ordinary, even familiar. In a city filled with strangers, familiarity became reassurance rather than a warning. Disappearances as background noise. Youths vanished regularly. Many had no stable homes or families. Reports were delayed or never filed. Each disappearance blended into the next. Warning signs ignored, complaints were made, rumors circulated. Some officers felt unease, but Haarmann's informant status discouraged scrutiny. Doubt was overridden by convenience. The power of position. Being close to authority shifted perception. Haarmann was seen as useful rather than dangerous. This imbalance allowed access without accountability. A pattern formed unseen. Over time, a pattern existed, but it was fragmented. Victims came from similar circumstances, but records were incomplete. No centralized system connected the cases. The market rumors. Whispers spread about unusual goods appearing in markets. In time of scarcity, few asked questions. Survival often replaced morality. The city looks away. Hanover adapted to loss. Absence became routine. Fear was normalized. People learned not to look too closely. The moment of suspicion. Eventually, circumstances shifted. A complaint could not be ignored. An arrest on a different matter opened a door that had been closed for too long. The mask begins to slip. Under scrutiny, Haarmann's confidence weakened. The protection he relied on began to crumble. Familiarity no longer shielded him. A case ready to break open. Investigators were on the edge of understanding the scale of what had been hidden. The city was about to confront a truth it had avoided. A system on trial. Even before the full facts emerged, it was clear this case would not be only about one man. It would expose failures of oversight, trust, and responsibility. The arrest that changed everything. When Haarmann was finally arrested, it was not for the full scope of his actions. A separate incident brought him into custody, and only then did investigators begin to uncover what had been hidden behind years of tolerance and misplaced trust. Confessions and evidence. Under questioning, Haarmann confessed. Not immediately, but steadily, as evidence accumulated. What emerged was not a single crime, but a prolonged series of acts carried out with disturbing consistency. The role of police protection. Investigators were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that Haarmann's proximity to law enforcement had shielded him. Complaints had been dismissed. Rumors had been ignored. His usefulness had outweighed caution. Public shock and anger. News of the case ignited outrage across Germany. The idea that authorities had enabled access to victims shattered public confidence. Anger turned toward both Haarmann and the system that had protected him. The trial. The courtroom became a national spectacle. Details were revealed carefully, yet each revelation deepened horror. The scale of the crimes and the duration over which they occurred stunned even seasoned observers. Responsibility and sentence. Haarmann was found fully responsible for his actions. The verdict reflected the severity and repetition of the crimes. He was sentenced to death, a decision that underscored the gravity of the case in its historical context. A city forced to reckon. Hanover faced its own role in the tragedy. Trust in authority had replaced vigilance. Familiarity had overridden suspicion. The city was forced to ask how safety had been confused with convenience. Institutional consequences. The case led to scrutiny of police practices, informant use, and oversight. Reforms followed, driven by the recognition that unchecked authority can be dangerous. The victims remembered. Attention returned to those who had disappeared quietly. Many had lived on the margins. Their stories, once ignored, became central to understanding the harm done. Why this case endures. Fritz Haarmann's crimes are remembered not only for brutality, but for what they reveal about institutional failure. When power is trusted without accountability, harm can persist unnoticed. Final thoughts. Haarmann did not operate in secrecy alone. He operated with tolerance, familiarity, and protection. His case remains a warning that authority must always be questioned, and that trust without scrutiny can become a weapon.